When you walk into a premium commercial building, the environment speaks before anyone says a word. Maintaining a highly scrutinized modern office space requires flawless, around-the-clock operational support to keep the asset looking and functioning perfectly. Because of that, bringing on an office cleaning contractor is a high-stakes risk management decision. You are granting an external team total access to every corner of your facility, where they operate almost entirely unsupervised long after your own staff has gone home. If that procurement process is handled poorly, the liabilities multiply quickly. You expose the building to severe work health and safety compliance risks, potential property damage from improper chemical use, and the rapid degradation of your high-value interior assets. This dynamic is especially strict in the Australian commercial sector. If you are managing premium assets in high-density areas like the Sydney CBD, the scrutiny from tenants and regulatory bodies leaves zero room for operational error. Opting for the lowest bidder clearly does not actually save money. It simply takes the immediate cost savings off the balance sheet and transfers it directly into the facility manager's daily workload and the corporation's overall risk profile. The challenge starts the moment you issue a tender. When the submissions come back, they all look remarkably similar. Every single bidder promises proactive management, highly trained staff, and HEPA-level hygiene standards. But there is a massive operational gap between a polished PDF filled with corporate marketing and the reality of a frontline worker executing those tasks consistently at 2 in the morning. Looking at this balancing scale, we can see the core dilemma every facility manager faces. On one side, you have intense corporate pressure to reduce operational costs. On the other, the absolute necessity for rigorous operational verification to ensure those cost cuts don't break the building. By minimizing the upfront diligence required during the tender process, that scale tips aggressively. You guarantee heavier, more expensive long-term consequences in the form of daily tenant complaints and failing compliance audits. Therefore, the true purpose of the procurement process is to methodically strip away the marketing hype and aggressively verify a contractor's actual operational maturity before a contract is signed. Your first and best defense mechanism in this evaluation process is a highly customized scope of work. This floor plan illustrates the difference between a generic checklist and a tailored approach. Instead of a blanket request to clean the floors, a proper scope of work color codes and itemizes tasks based on the specific wear patterns of your high and low traffic zones. Building this level of detailed zone mapping requires a heavy upfront time investment from the facility management team to walk the site and document exact usage patterns. The immediate return on that invested time happens the moment bids arrive. Because the instructions are absolute, you receive highly accurate, itemized pricing where you can compare bidders side by side. That precision completely removes the gray areas. 6 months into the contract, you prevent expensive scope creep from eating into your operational budget, and you avoid subjective arguments about what constitutes an acceptable clean. Spending the time to meticulously define the scope of work before going to market is the most effective single step you can take to protect your facility's long-term budget. Beyond the budget, the procurement process must also protect the corporation's legal standing and reputation. This scorecard shows exactly what needs to be verified. A viable bid provides hard, documentary proof of adherence to safe work and SWSW standards and fair wage laws. You need to see the actual safe work method statements customized for your site, along with current, verifiable fair work compliance certificates ensuring their frontline staff are paid legally. Enforcing these strict compliance metrics will instantly disqualify the cheapest 30% of market bidders right out of the gate. This creates a very real internal challenge. The facility manager now has to go to their executive board and actively justify a higher baseline operational cost for the contract. The argument for that higher cost is highly practical. The alternative is severe legal exposure, potential public relations disasters, and constant operational failure driven by the high turnover rates of underpaid cleaning staff. Rigorous compliance verification acts as a mandatory insurance policy against corporate disaster. To maintain that compliance in performance over time, the contract itself must mandate the use of digital quality assurance reporting dashboards. A reactive system waits for a tenant to complain before fixing a dirty washroom. A proactive system catches those service gaps early, using objective, geo-tagged inspection data from the supervisors on site. This flowchart illustrates the ongoing trade-off. To make this data useful, the facility manager must dedicate specific time every single week to review the dashboard inputs, identify trends, and hold the contractor accountable for operational adjustments. Once the contract is signed and the QA framework is agreed upon, you face the final hurdle of the procurement cycle, the 30-day contractor onboarding and transition plan. This phase requires precise execution. You are managing the handover of building security protocols, issuing access keys, and conducting site-specific hazard training for the entirely new incoming crew. There is unavoidable administrative friction during this month. You have to manage the communication overlap carefully, so the outgoing contractor maintains their standard right up until the exact moment the incoming contractor takes over. Navigating that transition strictly and feeding it straight into a continuous QA monitoring system is what actually converts a static paper contract into a highly reliable operational partnership. The overarching reality is that successful office cleaning contracts are won through rigorous, detailed procurement, not through lowest price bidding. This quadrant chart maps out your outcomes: diligence invested versus risk protection gained. Operating in the low diligence danger zone guarantees severe risk exposure and daily micromanagement. Conversely, the high diligence target zone secures maximum corporate protection and a reliable, long-term partnership. Dedicating the time to properly evaluate and verify your contractors is the only guaranteed path to reaching that high protection quadrant. How you apply this depends on your specific building. For managers running premium CBD towers or complex multi-tenant strata environments, the strategy must be defensive. Because of the sheer scale and foot traffic, exhaustive WHS verification and a robust integrated QA tech stack are absolute non-negotiable requirements to protect the asset. The strategy shifts slightly if you manage smaller single-tenant suburban office parks. In those environments, you can utilize a less complex scope of work, but you must index heavily on the contractor's reliability and their ability to proactively manage the relationship without constant oversight. By refusing to cut corners and choosing to evaluate a contractor's operational reality over their polished sales pitch, facility managers directly elevate their building standards and secure a